Huh? Yeah, well, we have money now to hand out. That's fine.
Good afternoon. I'm David Baer. Welcome to the June 8th meeting of the Tourist Development Council. So I call this meeting to order. First order of business is public comment. We have one person signed up for public comment. That's Butch Hansen. Please state your name, please.
Butch Hansen, 223 West Lloyd Street in Pensacola. And Council President Baer, other council members, thanks for giving me some time to present on behalf of the General Daniel Chappie James Jr. Memorial Foundation, an important project for our community that we believe will garner national attention and have many very positive impacts on our community, especially the tourism industry. I provided a few slides to guide my short presentation today, but the confluence of several events led to the formation of our foundation in January of 2019, building a new 3-mile bridge across Pensacola Bay, a lifeline to the tourism industry and our community, and the recognition of racial gaps in our community, and the understanding that everyone needs a hero, a role model to look up to idolize, to emulate, and that led to the founding of our foundation. And what better way to bridge those gaps across our community than to properly recognize a greatly successful native son and educate the community about his legacy and deem it worthy of emulation. General James was a member of the greatest generation, a 3-war hero. He was the first African American to rise to the 4-star level in our military. It wasn't an easy task, but was the culmination of the terrific foundation of work ethics, moral certainty, and patriotism provided in large part by his mother in her small private school on Alkany Street, as well as the great influences of the Tuskegee Airmen and others that he met along his trail to success. We started immediately to get the attention of the legislature, other local officials to gain support for naming the bridge, an appropriate symbol, lifeline of our community for General James. Along the way, we had other successes in getting the city of Pensacola to designate February 11th, the General's birthday, as General Chappie James Day, as well as helping put together a large gala fundraising event on General James' 100th birthday last February. We helped raise a lot of money for the fledgling Chappie James Museum and Flight Academy that works today with the cooperation of the city on Alkeny Street. But having achieved our naming goal, all that culminated in the governor signing into law that the new bridge will be named for General Chappie James. After achieving our naming goal, it's now appropriate to build an appropriate memorial plaza on the Pensacola landing of the new bridge. There's a slide there that's a little bit crude depiction of where we would have the plaza. It would be in Wayside Park near the Visitor Center. And it would feature a larger-than-life statue of General James, the F-4 aircraft that he famously flew in Vietnam. General James had almost 200 combat missions over the three wars, World War II, Korea, and Vietnam. And a tall flagpole. All would be visible from the flyover to Gregory Street. All would be fully accessible from the parking in Wayside Park and the biking and walking trails that are planned for that park after the construction of the bridge. Importantly, we've been working with Mr. Ed Dwight, a renowned sculptor, international known sculptor, and Mr. Dwight has his own trailblazing history as a former Air Force test pilot, the first African-American candidate to be an astronaut in our country. But having changed that, he followed his other dream as an artist, and now as a renowned sculptor and artist. And his works are all over the country in many cities, depicting famous leadership figures, historical monuments, most recently in Tulsa, Oklahoma, famous musicians and sports figures. So we're very pleased. And Mr. Dwight met Admiral James in his time in the Air Force and idolized him, and is very anxious to do this sculpture as perhaps his final legacy in his long distinguished career. A lifetime of our foundation's accomplishments is on the timeline provided and our current project timeline. We've been working diligently despite the delays from the unfortunate bridge closing, which further proved the value of that bridge as a tourist lifeline in our community. We've engaged all the professionals needed to help design the plaza, worked with FDOT and the city. We've worked with all the candidate potential aircraft sources for the F-4 aircraft and know what we need to do to prepare it for presentation on a large pedestal. And we'll have a large flag in there also. So with all that preparation done, now that the bridge is reopened, it's time to contract the sculpture. And that process to develop the sculpture, the pedestal for it, transport it here and install it is about a 9-month project. And we are looking to have that all done by the summer of 2022. We've separated the dedication of a memorial plaza from the opening of the bridge. Of course, there's many uncertainties with the bridge, as we've seen recently. And though some of our project is dependent on that bridge timeline for the preparation of the site. But it's advantageous for us because the 75th anniversary of the United States Air Force is on September 18th of 2022, excuse me. So that's when we're planning a large gala event, dedication ceremony that we believe will have national attention, the most senior officials in the United States Air Force, as well as the Department of Defense and perhaps others that would like to visit Pensacola. Mr. Dwight, the sculptor's strong relationship with current jazz musicians and his works to support them. We're also looking for an attendant jazz festival, perhaps, in Pensacola to further enhance the remembrance of the history of Pensacola in that realm also. So our budget for this project totals about $940,000 as we project right now. And I've given you a slide that breaks out the major pieces of that. Our near-term need and request from the TDC is to consider to fund the estimated $300,000 for that sculpture from Mr. Dwight, which would include the pedestal, the transportation, and the installation of that statue would be the centerpiece of the Memorial Plaza. We believe it's a huge tourist attraction and opportunity for the city. Pensacola is already a significant destination for military people, for military reunions and such. They fill the hotels and the beach, as well as travel to the city and fill the restaurants, etc. Visit our Veterans Memorial Park for memorial ceremonies routinely. This statue, most of those are Navy and Marine because of the entrenched history of the Navy Marine Corps in our city. This will add the Air Force significantly to that opportunity.
Mr. Hanson, if you could
Yes, sir.
please wrap it up a little bit.
Yep, I'm finished now, sir. But no other city has the opportunity to recognize the first African-American four-star general in our military. It's an opportunity for our city to showcase our native son and showcase our city and what it can provide in the history, and to greatly enhance our tourism industry. So I leave you with a few quotes from General James and President Reagan about General James, so thank you.
Thank you very much. Appreciate your presentation, and this sounds like a very exciting project. Is there any questions from the council or comments?
My comments would be, I think it's a great opportunity for Escambia County and for us, and I don't necessarily come from this board, but my hope would be that this board could, as we look into the budget for next year, carve out a little bit that we could send to this effort, and at least with a recommendation to my board that they approve that.
Any other questions or comments from the council?
Just one question. Has the fundraising for this endeavor already begun? I see you've got a
Yes,
tentative
it's
budget.
just beginning now in earnest. It was going to be before the bridge closed and all the discontent and anxiety over the bridge. So we've waited till it's reopened, but now we're starting in earnest.
Certainly, no, that makes sense, and I'm glad to hear that. Obviously, I've heard a lot about it over the last couple of years. So glad it's still moving forward. Agree with Commissioner Bender. It's a great thing. I support the project. Just wondering kind of where we were in this. I see your tentative budget here, so we should look at that as that's still the goal.
Yes.
100%. All right, great. Thank you.
Mr. Reeves?
I think maybe what we ought to consider is we've got 3 areas that we fund. I think maybe we ought to consider $50,000 from each of those areas, $150,000, and then say to the county, how about matching that $150,000 so that we would have $300,000 so that we have some skin in the game, but yet the guts of it would be from the county commission. There's just probably 100 other ways to do it, but we've skinned through the COVID-19, and if we could take our 3 sources, take $50,000 apiece, and then say to Robert, We need another 150.
Sure. I would, I appreciate that. I would not want this to adversely impact those agencies, especially having what they've gone through the last couple months. So if there was another way we could, you know, I mean, I'd say I have other plans for Pensacola sports and things like that. So if this board wants to request to support the $300,000 ask, I think we do have some other, as we head into budget, maybe not coming straight off 50,000 from each organization, but working it in somehow to the budget, I'd be happy to support.
So do you think the county commission might sign up for 300?
I don't know about that, but if that's ends up being the suggestion of this board, I think
So-
it would go.
My thought is, you know, there's been a hell of a fight to name that the Chappie James Bridge, so we might as well be excited about that. And so my suggestion would be to recommend from this board that the county fund the sculpture for $300,000, and if that needs some backup from our funding, certainly consider that.
So are you saying that the 300 would all come from TDT or that?
No, the 300 all would come from the county.
Well, I think we were seeing if TDT could play a portion of that. So if you're saying 150 from TDT, I think that goes a lot easier. We'd have to probably check some of our, where we can spend the money. I'd say it'd be a lot easier coming from here.
What I'm saying is whatever the guys that have the money, as long as you check with Ms. Childers, who has a checkbook, what we would like to do is get them 300,000, 150 from us, 150 from them.
I know I've allocated some portion from my discretionary funds for this. I know other commissioners have as well. I don't know if that's just backed them out of some of the additional funding, if they were counting on that in a different bucket, but something we can look at. So we'll I guess just as we start making budget, we need to factor in some portion going here.
So one of my concerns, Mr. Reeves, if you're suggesting that we take the 150,000 from the unified budget, 50, 50, and 50 from those three organizations, my concern is that those three organizations are independent organizations, and they each have their independent programs that they budget and they operate. And for us to direct how they fund their money within the overall tourism program, then they're really not independent anymore. And I'd be concerned about that, number one, because this year they've already budgeted how they're budgeting. And if we're going to want them to utilize TDT, if we want to put TDT or recommend putting TDT towards this type program, then I think there's other avenues that we should look at versus mandating some of these appropriations to the unified budget go.
Whatever you would like, Mr. Bear.
So, I think we have, as Mr. Hanson said, this is a 9-month-long project. And as Commissioner Bender said, that they're getting ready to start the budgeting process. I don't think we need to make a decision today unless somebody wants to take action. But certainly the conversation and moving forward, having it through the budget process, if this is something that we believe is tourist related and can help drive tourism, develop the tourism, then we move forward, in future meetings. But It was, and I appreciate your email that I received on Thursday. It's not an agenda item, and I think we have plenty of time to continue to discuss it. I do think it's an exciting project. I love public art, and especially art that recognizes someone as important as General Chappie James. Also, obviously with the new bridge, et cetera. So I'd like to see us continue to discuss it during the county commission, discuss it during budget process with the administrator, and I'd prefer to look towards the county's portion and use of the TDT.
Yeah,
to help
so
fund it.
my thinking was, as I said, not coming out of the three entities, but maybe a recommendation from this board or support showing it coming from the fourth or fifth cent outside of what the unified budget
Could come
says.
from the 5th cent.
It could. Well, I don't know. I'd have to double check the uses, but I think we have some wiggle room between the fourth
I
and
would
fifth cent.
move that this board be in support of the furtherance of the Chappie James
Sure.
Memorial.
And I don't know if we need a vote, or I don't know if we could take a vote on a public comment thing, but I think as long as there's staff direction to include it in the budget moving forward, if there's general consensus and straw vote that we'd like to see it included, then I think that goes a long way. Is that,
So are you going to second the motion?
Is there a second to the motion?
are you accepting a motion? I mean, I'll second
Well,
it, but
I don't know if we have any legal here. Your comment that whether or not we can take action on public.
I think we can easily direct
Comment.
staff to include it as, before we come to a vote.
Okay.
I think that would have the same weight.
I don't know whether or not we can accept.
Well, look at it
Action
this
on
way.
public
If
comment,
we
but-
pass it, you know,
Yeah.
he's going to feel better. Okay?
But I don't think our
Feel
job is
better
to make
kind of a
everyone
thing.
feel good. I think our
I
job
would
is
say,
to develop tourism.
It's very important.
Yes, it's very important
Yeah.
to Butch. It is. It was Mr. Hanson. So, well, I'm not exactly sure what furtherance is anyway.
We got a
So-
motion and a
so-
second.
Is there any further discussion? I don't know that we
Well-
had a second. Who seconded?
I mean, I think, well, let's just give direction.
Yeah.
So,
So motion fails for lack of second, and I would like to, and I guess, request that staff look into this and discuss further.
Who's staff?
County administration. We have a county administrator, Mrs. Gilly. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Hanson.
Thank you.
thank you.
Second order of business is, we have no other public comment. Was there anybody else that signed up? Great, thank you. Next order of business is approval of the April 2021 meeting minutes.
I'll second that. Yes, sir.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, call for the vote. Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. Thank you, Mr. Reeves. Next order of business is the status of the funds available, TDC collections and receipts, clerk and comptroller's office.
Good afternoon, Chair Bear and the rest of the TDC. I've got the presentation for you guys this time. Figured it's probably easier to follow. And, okay, so I'm just going to jump right into some of our reports. So we have as of May 24th, 2021, we had a total of $5.7 million available in TDT revenue. And out of that revenue, we have spent about $2.8 million has went to Visit Pensacola, paid out of the first 3 cents. And another another $423,000 has been paid out of the 4 cent to Visit Pensacola. We've done about $1.7 million to the Bay Center, which does include that that borrowed money for, I think it was the American plan. Yeah, yep, thank you. We have, if you keep going down, you'll see the beach mowing and Bob Sykes. Out of that $326,000, $266,000 is Bob Sykes, and about $59,500 is for the beach mowing. That $30,000, if you keep scrolling down past the Visit Pensacola, is for the UWF Vibrio water assessment. And then that $55,000 out of the outside agencies for tourism, 15.7 of that is for the African American Heritage, and 40,000 was for the Five Flag fireworks. So if we continue forward, we have, for May, we have a total, as of that day, we had 363,000, but what we ended with was about $1,597,000, which for comparison, that is, if you compare all the cents compared to 2020, that's a 350% increase. And if you can only compare the 1 through 4 cents, it's 260%. Now, a lot of that is because of COVID during 2020, but if a different comparison is comparing it to the 2019 numbers. If you took the 2019 numbers and compared all the cents, it was a 56% increase month over month, and it was a 25% increase if you only examine the first 4 cents. As of this morning, for June so far, we have 126,000 for revenue so far collected in June. That would put us in total for about a little over $7,088,000 for total collections as of today. If we continue going forward, this is the cash reconciliation, which ties to our first page. Nothing really any different there. On the back is our adopted budget, which has no changes. And then during the last meeting, you guys requested that I start including the reports that I send on a monthly basis to the Board of County Commissioners. So, what I do is I break it down by zip code. And one of the comparisons to look at is that we have year-to-date collected between 2021 and 2020 is about a 21% increase. And on the next tab, it really kind of sums up every zip code by month. It's just a deeper breakdown if you want to examine it. This is more, the following page after that is a breakdown between the first 3 cents and the 4 cent. I do have updated reports. I didn't have them ready by May 24th because I want the next reports are going to show the full comparison, the 3, the 1, the 4 cent, and the 5 cent. And I'll have more graphs that will give you guys apples to apples. Where are we from the 4 cent? And then here's the additional 5 cent. So they will kind of look like this, except there will be a stacked bar chart that will demonstrate the 5 cent. And so you can kind of see if 2021 for the month of April, you really see that we really did quite well in comparison to the last 5 years. One of the other graphs we have is a breakout of a bar chart based off our zip codes. And it's probably worth noting that the beach area code 32561 is comparatively down compared to the other previous years. Now, the other years are, it's not a month-to-month comparison, it's in total. So in 2020, it was about a little under 4.5 million in total. And this is as of May 24th. The last graph I have is a 5-year trend that kind of shows month over month where the revenue is trending. So, does anyone have any questions?
Any questions? I have a couple.
Absolutely.
So on the, well, so this report was dated May 24th, and you guys are receiving all the documents by May 20th for April, like all the returns, people have submitted all of their
So,
collections.
so collections, they can have it in the mail as long as it's
As long as it's
postmarked the
okay.
20th.
Okay,
So we sometimes don't receive checks
there's
till
a
the
lag.
26th, 27th.
got it, okay. On your other document that showed the revenue status report and the expenditure, it was a separate,
Oh, the
link in our-
financial,
Yeah, the financial.
gotcha.
Like the audit trail, et cetera.
Yep,
A couple of questions. Well, first, this one doesn't show any collection for the 5th cent, and I'm just assuming because it's not updated yet?
correct.
Okay,
So the way we do it is we have everything, it flows into a general count, and then we divide it out once we've collected for the whole month.
okay.
So yes, the, Chair Bear, next meeting, you'll see that 5th cent broken out.
Okay. And then on it's page number 16, it's the expenditure audit trail. It shows the funds paid to the Bay Center. And it shows the budget, the original budget at 1.5 million, and then it shows the March $100,000 that they appropriated, and then another $350,000 in April, for a total budget of $1.95 million. But the action that the county commission took in March was to give them the $100,000 of the $350,000 they planned to allocate to them, with the rest of the conversation being pushed out till the April meeting until they received all of the financial information they requested from the Bay Center. And then they came back and said that the budget amendment was for $350,000, not a $450,000.
Correct. So,
So is that going to be corrected on this? in the
well, it
system?
should show only about 1.7 million.
No, that's what the expenditure is, but I'm talking about for the budget section, it shows
Oh,
1.95 million.
I would have to see it, but yeah, I'll make sure it's corrected.
Okay.
Sorry, what page are you on?
It's page 16 of, I don't know if it's in this backup, yeah.
It's in the financial packet. It's all the supporting documentation. Is that what you're referring to,
Yes,
Chair Bear?
the audit, yeah, the expenditure audit trail, page number 16.
Which I believe is 36 of 43 in our packet. Is that right?
Yeah, 36 of 43.
Okay.
See where it shows the 1.95 million is the budgeted number? They show the 100,000 that you guys gave them in the March, I think it was March 24th or 25th meeting, and then another 350,000 that you gave in April, but it was a total of 350. You gave 100,000 at the beginning.
Yep.
In March, and 250 in April,
Yep.
for a total of 350. So, okay.
Which I do think is what is represented in the
Which is-
actuals.
Which is expenditures is, so they did a budget and then expenditures, and the expenditures do show the 100 plus the 250? Is that, yeah.
Yeah, right, but I didn't, you guys also said you'd pay it out monthly for the rest of the year, but you paid them out in lump sums. So I didn't know if between now and the end of the fiscal year, if that other $100,000 would be paid out, or if this was just an error in the budget input.
I would have to look more into it.
I didn't recall the monthly payout.
I think that was part of the discussion. I
Okay.
don't know if that it was in the
In the motion?
budget amendment, but it was
Or-
in the
yeah.
discussion.
Okay.
And then also the 350,000, it was the commitment that it would be replaced with the ARPA funds. And so, and I believe the county received those a month or so ago. I can't recall exactly when. The 30 million? Oh, you got it last week, okay.
It is, last weekend, it is in the, as what's being presented on Thursday to our board, the 350 is in that spreadsheet.
Okay, great, thank you. That was the only questions I had.
Okay.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
No other questions? Great, thank you so much, appreciate it.
Thank you, Chair Bear.
Thank you. Next order of business is new business, and the first item is the American Rescue Plan Act. Ms. Gilly, if you could.
Yes, sir, we did receive the $30 million. It's plus some extra in the bank. And so we are going to be talking about it on Thursday with the commissioners. And what we did, we did place a placeholder in there for 1.5 million. We divided it up for 4 years. So we put 1.5 million as a proposal to the commissioners to consider for the lost revenue from TDT for this year and 1.5 million for next year.
Okay.
So what we were trying to do is we're trying to do an equal budget for 4 years, because although we do get 60 million to spend over 4 years, we thought it might be better to kind of divide it up versus writing all the checks the first year. So it'll be at their pleasure on Thursday.
Okay, great. Does anyone have any questions?
And I did want to mention that I think the loss might have only been about 2.6, but we went on and booked 1.3 just to be safe, because we weren't completely sure of all the final numbers.
Okay.
Okay.
And so are the restrictions on these funds and spending
Okay.
schedules, et cetera?
Yes, so the board has to present to the federal government by August 31st, a plan for these funds. And so that's what we've been combing through, all the regulations required and the spend opportunities. We do have a delta of what our lost revenues have been for the past, couple of years, but particularly the last year. And we think that those are going to be large enough for us to at least probably or hopefully match half of the 60 million. And then that would allow the board more flexibility in how they would spend those funds. So the other 30 million is where we'll also be looking at how we book them based on the very stringent guidelines that will then subsequently be audited many years down the road.
Right.
So we're trying to be very careful in how we allocate them, but we're also trying to be very prudent in how we draw them down and give the most flexibility to our community.
Okay. So as far as the TDT is concerned, is there a timeline on when those funds, if the board approves it, the $1.3 million, is that what we said, 1.5 million?
It's 1.5 for
1.5
this year and
each
next year. Mhm.
So if they approve the 1.5 million at the meeting, and then those funds are allocated to Fund 108, what is the timeline on spending those funds? Can they be put into reserves, or do they need to be expended within the 4 years?
So
or
it
how does
could
that work?
depend on how we draw them down. I mean, on how we allocate them. So let's say we allocate them for tourism and hospitality. There will be regulations, based on that particular spend. The other piece is, though, if we draw them down and then the board has maximum flexibility, they will be able to set more rules from that perspective to answer those questions. So we would need to look and see what would be the best option for the community to determine which bucket we pull them down in. Does that make sense?
A little bit.
Yeah, so it's.
I mean, if I may, Madam Administrator.
It's 175
Yeah.
page
So
guidelines.
if the idea would be that we put some collections into reserves and have these funds go towards that money that we've just moved into reserves to fill that hole, I think that's a way that you could spend them within the allocated time frame and realize that, because we did use reserves to help offset some of the costs or some of the lost revenues. And so I think that's a way that you could still, because the Recovery Rescue Act plan cannot go towards reserves. And
Correct.
so it's a, yeah.
So that's why we're trying to provide the most flexibility for the dollars So that's why we're hesitant to give you a specific answer on when you could get them, because we need to make sure that we maximize the way in which we draw them down to give the most flexibility.
Understood.
Do you see?
I-
We
yes.
don't want to keyhole the decisions of this community, because we think those dollars are here for us to spend. And so I think similar to what we did with CARES, to provide the most flexibility is what we'll be looking to do with these funds as well.
So Amber, has the clerk been silencing you? Or you've been free to speak?
I would say that, no, no one's silencing me. It's nice to see you all.
Thank you. Any other questions about the American Rescue Plan Act? Nope. Thank you very much. Next item is the Bay Center update. We have Michael Capps, and actually, I'd like to call Cindy up here also, Cindy Pennington. And before we get started with an update, I wanted to congratulate Cindy on her retirement. And thank you for your... Cindy did not want to come to the meeting today, but I asked Michael to please drag her here. Thank you so much for the 36 years that you've committed to our community, to the Bay Center, and what you've done for us. And coming up here to these meetings, quarterly, monthly, however often they've been happening over the time, sometimes taking a beating. So thank you. Thank you for everything, and we hope you enjoy your retirement.
I hope to as well. It was not a difficult decision. It's one I've been pondering for about 4 years. And just through some professional and personal issues, I decided it's time for me to enjoy my life outside of the Bay Center while I can, and I'm healthy enough to do so. Talked to my boss about it, and it's been coming. It was just late in being announced for a lot of reasons, but it's been a wonderful journey. I started in 1985 after having worked for Jim Reeves. I left. I left
Check
Mr.
the
Reeves
books.
to go to work at the Bay Center, and it has been a labor of love, something that I've grown to thoroughly enjoy, never having done anything like that before. We all in this business find you either love it or you don't. There is no in between. And if you truly love it, it becomes a passion, and it grows on you, and you want to learn more about the business. And I've done that over the years, moving from one area to the next. Being fortunate enough to become the general manager and serving for 18 years. It's hard still sometimes. I'm working with Michael through this transition. I'll be there for next few months, helping him learn more about his role as general manager, things that you think you know, but you don't really know until you sit in that seat. I'll still be around at the Bay Center, in and out, helping him with different things, but it's been a pleasure to work with this board and the past members on this board, the county commission, its administration over the years, and I'm looking forward to my time away and spending more time with family, not having to work nights and weekends. Thank you, though. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Well, since you said you're going to be there for the next couple of months, we'll call you back up and do this again in August. Thank you.
Michael's got it.
Thank you. And Michael, thank you for coming today. Last time, at our last meeting, we discussed, and I know the county commission was discussing, when you guys made the request for additional funds, the shuttered venues, grants, and other type of federal grants, and you guys were talking about the occupancy levels and looking at trying to restart all the bookings, et cetera. So if you could just give us an update, that'd be great.
Yes, absolutely. And thank you for the opportunity to come today and speak before you. Thank you for the opportunity to recognize Cindy. So I didn't know you were considering this 4 years ago when you named me AGM. So I hope I wasn't the cause of this. Again, thank you. Our staff and team have been working diligently and hard. We just hosted 10 graduation ceremonies at the Base Center. One of the best things out of that, with all of our high schools coming in there, is seeing all the parents take pictures of the video boards instead of their kids on the stage. We even had the school board during the ceremony taking pictures of the video boards. So it's really transformed the building quite substantially. We just received the monitors to update the menu boards and the concession stands. 4 of those stands have been rebranded and rewrapped. We're working with our new food and beverage manager, who we had our regional food and beverage director retired as well a couple weeks before Cindy. So our food and beverage department is a team of 1 and an executive chef. We're going to work on rebuilding that. Right now, we're trying to survive through the rest of this fiscal year and mitigate everything that we can on the expense side of things. Our financials came back in April looking better than what we were projected on the 350. So we're going to keep pushing that direction. I can't say that we'll drive that down to 0. I know it won't go over 350, but we're going to try to mitigate that down as much as possible. So we still do have some furloughs going on, partly while we don't have our financials. We just got our finance director back after 3 weeks off. I was off the last week. So as we keep going through this, we're going to reel it in and get better. The bookings have been going better and better. This time before, when we spoke, we didn't have anything in September. Right now, I have 1 confirmed comedy show in the end of September, and we have 2 other shows that are ready to book and confirm. With one of those, we'll do another show in August or July. We also just announced Monster Jam this week, and that was predicated on going to 100% occupancy. So that'll be in July. It goes on sale next week. It'll be 3 shows, with potentially doing 4, as they've been successful out there on the road and doing their shows. This week, we also have Fiesta Coronation. The building's being transformed into a banquet hall, ballroom, really transforms it. I know some of you have been there before, but if you haven't been, it's pretty amazing to see the arena go from a hockey arena or a concert hall to what you see at Fiesta Coronation. We've got a dance revolution competition coming up at the end of the month, and also working with a client that has done some business with the Sanger Theater, White Tie Rock Ensemble, which has been a staple in our community. Talking with their organization, they were looking to find a place to host events that had more space, but keep it to the same kind of capacity. So we're going to do a show with them in our theater set and see if that may be an option for them to grow and build on their brand here in Pensacola and attract other bands like that, with Black Tie from Mobile and some other areas as well. Coming up into August, we are working on a couple family spectacle type entertainment shows. Those aren't confirmed yet, but those are online. We look to confirm one of those next week, as well as another R&B show. Hockey won the championship this year for the 4th time, which was a good kick in the arm for us, because the second playoff date, we had 3,000 people in the building for that last home game. So we're getting the reports in on the revenue side to see how everything finally balanced out between that and Pensacon and all those kinds of things. Pensacon's numbers were down a little bit, but not very much. I think the attendance, the last time I looked at it, we were still maybe around 2,000 or 3,000 down from what it was in previous years. So everything's been trending in the right direction. We're getting more calls to try to take on rehearsals, which is a good revenue opportunity for the building. They can come in for 2 to 3 weeks. We're looking at one in January of next year and possibly one in August as well. I mentioned the video boards and the concession rebrand. Another big aspect that we've added to the building is the Wi-Fi system, which is a public Wi-Fi. We have been operating as a test of the last few hockey games. We ran it through Pensacon and had no issues at all. So that was a very substantial investment to really upgrade the facilities and enhance the experience for patrons coming in, as well as the shows alike. So when a concert comes in and their artist is backstage in the dressing room, they can hook up the Wi-Fi instead of having to go across the street to Whataburger. So it's been a great asset that we've added. I mentioned all those kinds of things. In October, we have 5 shows right now looking to book. We have 1 confirmed and 1 kid family show that most likely will materialize. November, we have 4 shows that are looking, that they should get at least 3 of those, and December, 3 of those as well. And to expound on Sunbelt as we go into the future, looking forward to growing that championship here. They had a great experience. They've reached out to make some changes for next year. I'm not sure if they've officially announced it yet or not, but as that comes along, I think it'll be a great opportunity to build on that.
Thank you.
Any questions that I may answer, or if I can bring information back to you?
Council members have any questions?
Yeah.
Tish?
When did you say that one event is where you turn it into a banquet space or a banquet hall?
It's a Fiesta Coronation, so it's put on by a Fiesta Five Flags.
Okay.
So it's roughly 1,100 person attendance. It's kind of a come in, mix and mingle. They put on a program, and then it becomes a dance with a band. I wouldn't call it a Mardi Gras ball, but it's kind of in that realm, but a very black tie affair.
Just a personal note, I'd like to see the Bay Center do more of that. 14 years ago, my sister got married, and we tried to have it at the Bay Center. I guess because of the food or some reason it didn't work out. So we actually ended up going all the way to Daphne Civic Center. So we had 1,400 family and friends that came, and we got all our rooms in Daphne, and
Oh, wow.
not a single room in Pensacola for that reason. So
We've experienced that as well. One recently with United States Marine Corps. We hosted their birthday ball in November. I just spoke to them this morning. Unfortunately, they're not able to proceed this year, partly due to they do a lot of fundraising throughout the year to bring people in. But that event has been in November the past 2 or 3 years, minus last year. It's a full dual entree plated dinner for 1,400 Marines, and we served it in 25 minutes. We brought in chefs from South Carolina, Mobile, Baton Rouge, and when you walk in, you truly get a transformed experience.
good. I'm glad to see that. We're doing something else at the Bay Center and bringing people in, because I know we lost. That was my sister 14 years ago, and then 2 years ago, my youngest cousin, she did the same thing. She had to go to Daphne Civic Center, had her wedding there. So it wasn't as large, but they still had about 700 people. 700 families came in town, and we rented out almost every hotel in Daphne, and not a single hotel here. So
And the Marine Corps is the same thing. They were going to Destin or Mobile, and they hosted 2 separate balls, one in one city, one in the other. And their commandant said, we need to keep our people here, keep our Marines here.
right.
So they go to the ball, then they go out downtown afterwards. That's what they like to do.
Right. Yep. I'm glad it's happening here, because especially when we live here, it's hard to have a wedding in Alabama. It doesn't even sound good. You're like, you got married in Florida. It sounds nicer than you say I got married in Alabama. So
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tish. Any other questions or comments? Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, sir.
Congratulations on your new appointment as well.
Thank you.
Thank you, Cindy. The State of Tourism, Visit Pensacola, I think, or no, I'm sorry, this is Wesley Hall, County Administrator, Assistant County Administrator. State of Tourism, Joseph St. Germain and Aaron Dinkle, Downs and St. Germain, sorry. Thank
Good
you.
afternoon. How are you doing today?
Well, thank you.
It's been updated. That's what happened. You're
I
going off.
can't, I can't speak.
You're going off the one that got printed for me earlier in the week. They changed the. There you go.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. My name is Erin Dinkle. I'm the Senior Project Director with Downs and St. Germain Research, and I'm here today with Joseph St. Germain, the President of Downs and St. Germain Research. So it is a pleasure to be here with you all today. Thank you for having us. And we're going to be talking about the state of tourism in the Pensacola area today. So just a brief outline of what we're going to be going through. I'm going to start with the importance of tourism to the Pensacola area as a whole, the journey to recovery that we've seen from the start of 2020 up until today, the emotional connection that your visitors feel to the area through our unique emotional positioning research that we recently conducted, and then our current research initiative, which is lifestyle segmentation, which we are in the process of conducting right now. And then before we get into that, I just want to let you know that all of this research is being done from interviewers that we have in the field in various areas and different events across the Pensacola area. So what we're doing is we're meeting your visitors while they're here on their vacation and asking them to take a survey. And we're in these different areas and different events to make sure that we get a very representative sample of the various types of visitors that you have coming to your area. So to start with this, I want to look at the big number, really the one that everyone wants to see, and that's your economic impact number. So for 2020, your visitors have generated a total economic impact of over $1.4 billion to the Pensacola area. So you notice this is a decrease of 10.6% from 2019. However, when you consider all the destinations that had an inevitable loss of an economic impact to their destinations, 10.6% decrease is really something to be celebrated. And this economic impact was driven directly from your visitors' direct spending in the area. So this is what they were spending on their accommodations, restaurants, groceries, transportation, anything that they were spending money on in this area while they're on vacation is part of their direct spending. So that was over $954 million to the area. Once again, this was a decrease of 10.6% from 2019. However, it's worth noting that the state of Florida's overall tourism spending was down 17%. So this was really a great feat for Pensacola. Pensacola attracted over 2 million visitors in the area. One thing I want to note here is that while people who were visiting just for the day or visiting their friends and relatives decreased slightly over 2020, the visitors who ended up staying overnight in paid accommodations actually stayed steady. So what that means is even though you had a decrease of visitors overall, the visitors who were staying here were contributing to your room nights and more importantly, contributing to your tourism development tax while they were here. And they ended up generating over 2 million room nights in the area over the course of 2020. And that accumulated into over $10 million in your tourism development tax for 2020. So I just kind of gave you a little overview of how important tourism is to Escambia County as a whole, but what does that mean for you individually? Well, all of these tourists coming into the area are supporting just under 17,000 jobs in the area, and that's generating $473 million in wages and salaries to these jobs. So to put it a little bit more plainly, that means an additional Pensacola area job is supported for every 122 visitors that are coming to the area. So whenever you're at the beach or an event, Pensacon or the Mardi Gras parade, and you see visitors out there, that's them supporting an additional Pensacola job to your residents in the area. That's another job for you, a job for your neighbor, a job for your friend, or a job for your family member.
That looks like a great spot to go.
Lovely
Jim, what do you
spot.
think? Jim, is that a good spot to hang out?
And then for those of you who aren't directly connected to the tourism industry, a hotel, restaurant, or what have you, why should tourism be important to you? Well, regardless of your connection to the tourism industry at all, every local resident household in the Pensacola area is still saving $1,162 per year in taxes just from your visitors coming to the area. So you don't have to be directly connected to tourism to feel these impacts from your visitors. So now let's take a little look into the journey to recovery from the beginning of 2020 all the way through where we are today. And to do this, I want to take a look at the occupancy, where we've started from and where we are today. If you take a look at this, that green line there is representing our current year, so 2020 up through the most recent quarter. And you can see that in January through March of 2020, we were at equal occupancy levels with the previous year. Going into April through June is where we see that dip, and that's really where the largest impacts of COVID are occurring, particularly in April. That's when a lot of accommodations were not available and people may not have felt as safe to go out and visit. However, we can see that occupancy is ticking up towards the end of summer, and that particularly started after Memorial Day when more visitors started to come into the area and the occupancy started to increase. And finally, that increase in occupancy ended up crossing over the previous year's levels around the October through December quarter and continues to increase up through our most recent quarter this year, January through March. We can see a similar trajectory when we look at the air traffic. We really see the largest dip in April of 2020 where air traffic is down 93.6%. And this is really driven from the fact that a lot of your visitors were changing their modes of transportation from flying to driving. And it's not surprising considering that Pensacola is a really perfect drivable destination for a lot of your visitors. So we see that very large decrease in April, and it's slowly coming back up, a little bit slower than other areas of the tourism industry, but it is coming back up. But I do want to draw your attention to that highlighted area, particularly in the month of March, where we see the dramatic increase of 54.9% in March of this year, 2021. So we can see that the airline industry is coming back and people are feeling a lot safer and more comfortable to travel here by air. And that is a really positive indicator for future tourism in the future. So we just kind of looked at a lot of the positive indicators over the most recent occupancy metrics and airline metrics, and we can see a really positive future for the road ahead as far as tourism. From consumer sentiment studies, we can tell that visitors are optimistic and they're excited to travel again. The majority of these visitors, they feel safe to travel, and they also have vacations that are planned in the near future. And we can also see that shown in the accommodation occupancy numbers going up. But all of this is really in no small part due to the efforts of all the people in this room, including Visit Pensacola and their efforts to bring more visitors into the area. But more importantly, it's attributed to your visitors' deep emotional connection that they have to this area and the reason why they want to come back again and again and relive these moments that they love so dearly. So I'm going to hand this back over to Joseph so he can talk a little bit more about that emotional connection.
All right, thank you very much. Again, my name is Joseph St. Germain. I'm the president of Downs and St. Germain Research. Aaron got to talk about a lot of the documentation research we do with the thousands of interviews that we do with your interviewers, and I get to talk about some of the other research that we've done which helps understand their connection to this special place and also kind of trying to find ways to bring more visitors to this area. So the study I'm going to talk about right now is the Unique Emotional Positioning Study. We did focus groups in 4 major markets: Houston, Texas, Atlanta, and Nashville. In addition, we did a follow-up survey in 15 of your major markets and talked to your locals. I mean, the key is when it comes to a visitor choosing a destination, they do so because of the emotions and what they feel while they were in the area. So the goal of the study was to better understand those feelings so we can, one, market accordingly, so we can market something that resonates with your visitor, but also find a way to differentiate from your competitors. That's one of the things with the Florida beach area. That's not the only beach within the state. So it's like, again, we want to know what resonates and what differentiates. And ultimately, it comes down to, and you'll not only hear this from me, but we'll also show some clips from the focus group so you can hear from the consumers themselves. At its core, they love the water, the beaches, the relaxation. They feel welcome, and they feel like they can be themselves. And I'll kind of go into more depth here as we go. But the first impressions of a vacation in Pensacola Beach, Perdido Key, are white sandy beaches, the clear water, and the relaxation. That is the first thing that they think about, and that is the core of what they feel when they're here. And additionally, as we learned later with the follow-up surveys, it's really how Pensacola can differentiate from almost every competitor, because the beaches and how the beach looks and feels is different than almost anywhere else in the United States, with some exceptions with your neighbors. And I'll get to how do we differentiate from there in a little bit. But first of all, let's kind of talk. Let me let you hear from some of the consumers themselves about the beaches, the water, and the relaxation. And the sound worked before we started. Now I'm just really crossing my fingers that it works here.
The first time I touched that white, soft sand, I mean, it's like flour. And then when I saw the calm, blue, clear water without these crashing waves that California has, that's why it's good to surf, unlike Pensacola, it was just a sense of peace and calm.
From everything, and you see the water and the beach and just the whole environment. It's like you're free, you're away from the whole city life, cars.
Well, to see the water first, because isn't that the main draw as opposed to all this other kind of stuff?
The first thing that comes to mind when you think of Pensacola Beach, Perdido Key as a place to vacation.
White sand beaches.
Beautiful blue water, white sand beaches.
Turquoise water.
Beautiful white sandy beaches.
How about you, Sean?
I put beautiful clean water.
It's just so nice to wake up and look across the beach and out of that clear blue water. I just find it very appealing.
The first time I touched that white, soft sand.
Relax.
All right, I'm good at this.
relax, with an emphasis on the word relax, lack of a stressful surroundings, and then when you mentioned the emotion as a bliss. I'm trying to get, I can sit there and just unwind. I don't feel the stress that I would in other places.
So you're just happy because you're there with your family, you're making memories, you're relaxing, you can, I don't know what emotion would be forget your troubles, but you can kind of leave your world behind and not have to worry about stuff that's going on at home or your job or anything. You can just chill out.
If you're like sitting on the beach, something about sitting on the beach, especially if it's like not very stressful, it's just very like calming, and you feel like centered and calm, and you can kind of just, it's almost like your mind just kind of gets away from all of the things you have to deal with.
I love the quote, it's like flour. And it's like one of the things we've realized from this is that beach and that water is the physical manifestation of relaxation to a lot of your visitors. And again, that's how you differentiate yourselves from so many other destinations. However, in some of the other surveys, we realized some of your geographic neighbors, your visitors will tell you their beaches aren't bad. So how do we differentiate ourselves from our neighbors? And what we learned there is when they described this destination, it's unpretentious. I don't need to throw on my Gucci and my Prada and everything I need. I'm here, I can be myself. The people here are welcoming. And so that's really a tip of the hat to your residents and all of you working in hospitality. But it's also the other visitors that they run into also have the same general welcoming behavior. And it's a social scene, but it doesn't need to be a lot of pomp and circumstance, and they don't need to be rushing to this thing and then that thing and then that thing. They get to be themselves, and they get to take their time, and they can get to have some fun. But again, I'll give you one more clip from some of your visitors.
I get 400 emails a day, and I don't look at them when I'm in Pensacola.
I want to just sit on the sand and relax and not have to be somewhere at a certain time. And my
wonderful release. Wake up when you want, eat when you want, do what you want.
I get full.
Ultimately, from this study, again, let me touch base on the 4 major elements of the unique emotional connection your visitors to have to this area. The white sugary sand and the blue-green water, which again is kind of the manifestation of that relaxation that they mentioned. But to differentiate yourselves from some of your other neighbors as well, it's be yourself. Be comfortable. You're comfortable in their skin. It's unscheduled and no agenda whatsoever. Now, don't get me wrong. There's a lot of other things in Pensacola that are great that can market the destination, especially once they get here. They want to go to your attractions and your bars and your restaurants and what have you. But this right here is the emotional underpinning, the reason they come, the North Star, and should be driving a lot of the marketing decisions or marketing behaviors. So as Aaron mentioned, we're doing another study right now. We're in process, so I don't have any results to give you. I just want to give you a sense of what it is. The lifestyle segmentation study, we're able to take data of your visitors and feed them through another company called Claritas, and they give us a great sense of what your visitor does, their lifestyle, their behaviors, their psychographics, their media preferences, a lot of different things. I mean, ultimately, we're trying to find the segments that have the highest potential to visit the area. I mean, it's one thing to get someone who's been here back because they've came here and they've realized how great of an area this is. However, it's a little bit harder to get that someone here the first time. So how can we use marketing dollars more efficiently to get them here? And the one thing about this study like this, we learned so much about your visitor. If you take Aaron and I, we're both located in Tallahassee. We work in the same office. There's a lot of geographic things that are very similar. However, her phone and her laptop goes a lot different places than my phone and my laptop. And this is going to help us understand not only where people are geographically, but where they are, what magazines they're reading, what media they're watching, what websites they're on. So we can make sure we can target those places that will just be a little bit more efficient when marketing the area. Ultimately, with these two studies together, you can take the unique emotional positioning study to understand what to say to the consumers, and this study is going to help us tell us where to say it and to whom. Overall, that's a pretty quick overview of a year's worth of research, but we wanted to try to get through it as soon as we quick. You know, it's kind of that be quick but don't hurry kind of a thing. At the same time, we want to open up for questions.
How
Any
many
questions
people
from
were,
council?
I'm sorry, how many people were in the study? How many people did you interview?
For the
first study?
For the first study, we do at least 900 per quarter. So over the course of the year, it gets to around 3,600. I think we're a little bit higher than that, but it's at least 1,005. Yeah, at least 1,050 per quarter.
And were they first-time visitors or repeat visitors, or some of each?
Some of each, yeah. We, as Aaron mentioned, our goal is to make sure the people we talk to is representative of all of them. So we're trying to get all different visitor types, people who go to the beach, people who don't go to the beach, people who go to the Bay Center, or what have you, so.
Thank you.
All types.
Any other questions?
Yeah.
Robert?
So I was able to go to the marketing group that was in Atlanta for that evening. And I, of course, I heard some of the clips that I heard that day. But I think it really highlighted that as much as we think and want people to come here for our history and everything else, at least from what I saw, everybody was coming here for the beach. And that was also why, after seeing that, have been pushing and asking this board to put some money towards beach renourishment. Because that would have, I think, the biggest impact on keeping and recruiting new tourists. Friday afternoon, right before the parade, I was on Palafox, early afternoon, and I actually ran into someone I went to MBA school with up in Atlanta. It's one of those things where I wouldn't necessarily expect to run into them on the street on Palafox on the Fiesta Parade Day. And so you sort of course, in my line of work, I see a lot of people. So you try to place where you know them, and they had come over from New Orleans. They actually stayed at the new hotel in Gulf Breeze. They loved it. They thought it was great, and so this was their first time visiting the Gulf Coast, and they're from Atlanta. They've got kids, and to hear them talk about their experience on the beach and how much they enjoyed it, they're coming back, right? They're coming back because of our beach. And, they did like a week-long tour, and, they're probably not going back to New Orleans, okay? But they're coming back to Pensacola, and they're going to find out what else we have to offer. So, that we've got them here with the beach. They're going to come back because of the beach, but then they're going to find out that there's other things that they can do. So, proof is in the pudding, right? And to hear, I mean, when the question was, what would you say if we said Pensacola's Atlanta's beach? Everybody hated that tagline, slogan, whatever you want to call it, because they don't want other people to come here. They want them to go down to Destin. They want to come here and maybe not see anybody that they know and enjoy the vacation and not have to worry about what they're wearing or whatever. And so I think that is what sets us apart. And of course, having the beach and the access to the beach is a huge part of that. So I enjoyed, it was really eye-opening listening to that because, again, people don't like to hear it, but they don't know that the Blue Angels are here. As much as we love the Blue Angels and we watch the Blue Angels, they don't come here to see the Blue Angels. And so it's a bonus if they see them. And maybe they realize that they can come see them, but they're coming because of the beach. Bottom line. So, thank you. Oh, actually, I do have one other thing. Sorry. Can you go back to the air travel numbers? So is this all air travel, or is this just for vacationers?
This is all air travel, so it does include domestic travel or resident travel as well.
Okay, because Jared, you might know some of these numbers, but I've heard that air travel at the airport is up like 19% over 2019 numbers.
So when you start looking towards the end here, it's when you're into the January, February, March, April 2021, that's
Right.
comparing it to 2020.
Right, that'd be the blue line.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
so I'm saying I'm not seeing 19% in
Right.
this
The-
chart. So I just, I'm glad that the airport's doing well. I would just be curious how we got this information, if they're saying that they're up 19%.
19% from 2019, correct?
Yes,
This is up 54% from 2020.
right, I know.
s-
But I'm looking at the green numbers on the right side of the screen compared to the blue numbers on the left side of the screen, which the blue numbers on the left side of the screen would represent 19.
This graph only runs through April, so I don't know if the May numbers were up 19% or what other number.
Okay.
Number you mentioned, so I just want to create.
Sure. I'm just.
Yep.
Hearing how strong air travel's come back into Pensacola area, I would have expected to see a little bit more than essentially flat from 2019.
Right, it's in general, not only in Pensacola, throughout the state, we've seen air travel, it's getting back, but it's still lagging behind what the occupancy levels that we've seen.
Well, I mean, I think their comment was that we're probably losing 10% just in international travel.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
But, so it's still showing strong if you're thinking 10% is not even in this figure. But, anyway, thank you.
Yeah, it is lagging behind a little bit more than the other areas of the tourism industry. But really, we're in the most recent months is where we're seeing it tick back up, and we expect to see that tick back up.
But I think that's where it puts us in such a great spot because we are a drive market. I mean, that's the marketing that we focused on with our CARES dollars and started focusing on during the summer last year was the drive markets, knowing that air travel was, down 50% over the year. So.
Mary?
Yeah, is it possible for us to get a copy of this presentation?
Absolutely. Of course.
Thank you.
So I have one comment. I think everybody here knows, at least the residents here, and certainly people in the industry, recognize how important our beach is to our tourism, how important it is to the quality of life of the residents. It is our, do we need to take a break? How important it is to our residents. It's obviously a driver to our economy, not only to the tourists, but the locals who enjoy it as well. The one thing that concerns me is if we begin our messaging or shift in our messaging where we're trying to diversify our tourist base to different types of tourism and put more focus on beach tourists, and we continue to have these natural disasters like oil spills on our beach, or a hurricane that either wipes out properties that we have, so our capacity is reduced, and or access through bridge disasters, those types of things, and we become dependent on the beach, and those things happen, then we really shoot ourselves in the foot. So, and I understand you said you guys have received your, you got the folks for the focus groups through all different types of, I guess, different means, different types of tourists that were here. And you did it all year long, because that was one of my questions is, if you're only getting your focus group in July at Pensacola Beach and you're asking them, what do you think of Pensacola Beach when you're in Perdido Key, when you're here, of course, they're going to talk about the sand and, et cetera, et cetera. But if you're coming in the fall and you're asking folks at the museum, the tourists who are here at the museum, what do they think about when they think about Pensacola or Escambia County, you may get a totally different answer. And so with our sports tourism that we're doing and the arts and cultural tourism and all the other types of, history and cultural tourism that we're trying to do, I think we need to make sure that we continue to message that and spend time or efforts and resources focusing on that. I love the fact that you get these from the focus group, you get the information about what they feel. And so when we're the differentiator. So when we're talking to cultural tourists, as an example, you say, hey, you can go to New York City and get stuck in traffic, or, worry about trying to flag down a cab or whatever, or you can come to Pensacola for our museums and opera and symphony and enjoy our beautiful beach and walk in that white sand and enjoy the relaxation, et cetera. So I think it's really important data that you guys have collected, and that, because it is emotional. So when you come here for a symphony, you can empty the sand out of your shoes and then sit down at the Sanger and watch the symphony perform. So it's important. I just want to make sure that we're not trying to say we need to put all of our eggs in one basket, because we've learned the hard way that's a really bad thing to do, and just continue to diversify our base of tourists. Because if we continue to grow all of those bases, then our overall base grows, and if there is something, we still retain a lot of folks, a lot of visitors. Another question that I wanted to ask is, you guys showed that number, I think it was $1,162 per resident savings. How do you get that number? Where did you extrapolate that?
That's by using the number of households in the area, just taken from the U.S. Census, and then combining that with our data that we've collected year-round to look at the different spending patterns that they have and driving the economic impact. And then we take that into account with the sales tax that they're contributing with their spending dollars, as well as a tourism development tax. And we divide that by the number of households that are in the area according to the U.S. Census, the latest U.S. Census.
Yeah, the short version is we take the taxes that were paid by your visitor, including like property taxes of hotels, and divide it by the number of households.
Okay.
And that all stems from everything else that she mentioned and all those surveys that we do. But that's the ultimate equation of what it comes down to.
So it wasn't that overall economic impact, the $1 billion number divided by the number of households? It wasn't that simple. It was
No,
But
it's
we
their
use-
taxes.
We utilize that as an input to understand how much taxes can be attributed to your visitors, and then divide that by the households.
Okay, because that's a very specific number, very interesting. I'm
Yeah,
glad you guys
it's
did that.
something not only here, but in a lot of different destinations. It's something that resonates, especially for those local residents who don't work in tourism. Sometimes we hear them ask, well, what does tourism do for me? $1,162 is the answer to that question.
All right. Thank you. Any other questions or comments from the group? No? Thank you so much.
Thank
We
you so
appreciate
much
your
for your
time.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you for the
Appreciate it.
information. Next item on the agenda is update from County Administration, Wesley Hall, Assistant County Administrator. Sorry, I was conflating the two last time, two agenda items.
Okay.
Welcome,
Thank
Mr. Hall.
you. How are you all doing? Good afternoon, TDC members. I'm excited to come before you because for the first time in the county's history, we're putting on a Minority Business Expo. And I'm excited about it because we have numerous agencies participating. It's going to be on June 26th at the Brownsville Community Center. Participating agencies include ECUA, Escambia County School Board, Santa Rosa County School Board, the Small Business Development Center, Pensacola State College, and University of West Florida. And all these people are coming out for one reason, to show minorities how to do business and give them opportunities to do business with governmental entities. Right now, we have over 140 registered MBEs that plan to attend the conference. And that's a turnout, and we've only been marketing it really for the past probably 30 or 40 days. So we think we're going to have, we may approach 150, maybe 175 minority businesses. And it's something that we wanted to reach out and do as a county because there are a number of minority businesses that want to and have great services and great skill sets, but they've never had an opportunity to sit down face to face with a purchasing agent from ECUA or purchasing agents from the county. And that relationship that can develop, people do business with people they're comfortable with and have relationships with. So we're extremely excited about this, and we think it's going to be an annual event, and it's going to continue to grow and get bigger and bigger. So I welcome all of you all to attend. There will be advertisement and marketing, and we're anticipating an exciting event that'll go on and be a very prominent part of our economic development in this community. Questions?
Any questions or comments? So I'm on a email list for an organization called Black Meetings in Tourism. It's the authority on African American conventions, incentives, and leisure travel. I'm not sure if you're familiar with them. If
No,
I
sir,
don't
I'm
know
not.
if that is something that this group, for this convention, this meeting that you're planning to do, could find these folks, maybe reach out to them, talk about future events, bringing their groups here to Pensacola to possibly partner with the county.
I would
on
love
this.
to get that information and reach
Okay.
out and see what kind of opportunities we can present and come together with. But if you can get that information to me, I'll come to you after the meeting.
Absolutely.
And I'll love to do that.
Great.
We sent out probably 400 invitations, and my goal was to get 25%, which was 100. And I'm well over that now, so we may be almost at 50%. We may end up with as many as 200 minority visitors. So I'm very excited about the response that I've received, and we're just we're chopping at the bits to get this thing going, and everybody's excited about it. And I've gotten so much positive feedback already from the minority visitors in terms of they looked at the agenda, they looked at what we had to offer, and we have a number of people, a number of entrepreneurs in the community. Quint Suter's going to be a part of it, so we think it's a big deal. And we wanted to invite you guys and make you aware of it.
Great. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you
I'll
very
get that
much.
information to you.
Yes,
Thank
sir, I
you.
appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next item is Visit Pensacola. Darren?
Good afternoon. Thank you for having me. So glad to be here to give you an update on a few items. And Chairman Bear, I did hear your comments regarding our marketing, and definitely that is the plan, is certainly to use the beach as that primary driver. But as we know, you can only spend so much time at the beach. I guess the average is no more than about 4 hours a day before they're looking to do something else. And our goal is to make sure we introduce them to all the other great aspects of our community. And one of the things that stuck with me when we were doing the focus groups in these outlying markets is I kept talking about the thing that brings them to Pensacola is the thing they can't get at home. They have sports, they have entertainment and history and some of those items, but it's the beach, it's the water, it's the sand that they don't have that really brings them here. And then while they're here, of course, everybody likes to do the things they enjoy back at home. They get to enjoy it here in a different way. So I think there's a lot of opportunities for us to expand on that message. And of course, we've got our individual agencies like ACE, like Pensacola Sports, that does the driving on those markets as well. So with that said, I'd like to start off just by introducing some new members of our team at Visit Pensacola. At our last meeting, I shared that we got a payroll protection loan that allowed us to bring some staff back, some positions that we had to cut about this time last year. So out in the audience, we have Melissa Bailey, who is our new partner relations manager. She's taking over for Kaya Mann, who is promoted to destination sales manager. We also have Jordan Puckett, our social media and content associate. She is a recent relocatee here from Asheville, North Carolina, and also Madison Dunn, who's our marketing intern. So we're really excited about these additions to our team. And we do currently have one position that is open. We're looking to fill administrative assistant. Leslie White, who had been with our organization for over 5 years, had resigned to take care of some family matters and take a new direction with her career. So that opened up this opportunity to recreate and fill the administrative assistant position. And our job openings are available at our industry site, visitpensacola.com. I'd like to say a few comments about the TDT collections and share a few slides from our last board meeting. This shows the TDT collections for the last 6 months. Through March, we collected in April. That was a loan that month was certainly up 112% over last year, but more importantly, up over 2019 by 4.6%. And we look at combining the first 7 months of our fiscal year, TDT collections are up 480,000 over fiscal year 2019, or 9.8%. And we know April TDT that we just received here in May, which includes the 5th cent, projects to be about $1.6 million, just under. But if we calculate it at 4 cents, it would have been $1,280,000, which is still $263,000 more than was collected in 2019. It's up 26%. And our projections, our trends for what's going to happen in the months of May, June, and July are showing similar growth. I'm going to share this slide. So we work with a company called Key Data. They track performance of vacation rentals, condo units, and they're able to do forward looks. So this is looking from June all the way through January of 2022. And you can see the months of June, July, into August that there's considerable growth or difference over 2019 and 2020. So that top line is our current fiscal year, and then 2019 and 2020 are below that. During this particular 8-month run, this shows that the unit revenue is up $8.1 million over 2019, which is a 35% increase. So with that said, we're already working on next year's budget because Escambia County has asked us to work on the budget for our next fiscal year of 2022. And just a reminder, our current year is based on basically TDT collections of $10 million. So that takes us all the way back to 2016 when we collected that amount. And with what we've received already through April, we're showing about $740,000 in excess of what we collected in 2019. Now, 2019 was our best year on record. We collected over $12.3 million, and we are $740,000 better than that already with 4 or 5 months left to go, showing those kind of projections. So we are looking at collecting over $13 million this fiscal year. Really, it'll be the best year on the books. And so that is, I'm sharing this information with you to kind of set the groundwork for why we did our budget requests for 2022. So we based it on fiscal year 2019. We saw the trends that we're going to be hitting those numbers, even doing better than that. And in 2019, like I said, TDT receipts were about $12.3 million on 4 cents. So our request was for 65% of the TDT collections from the first 4 cents, plus 100% of the 5th cent for the first 6 months. And that is based on the approval that the Board of County Commissioners did last September, that when the 5th cent was initiated, the first 12 months would be dedicated to unified budget. So our requested amount is $9,582,500, which would be 62.3% of the total estimated receipts, which would be $15,375,000 based on all 5 cents. The other thing that we are asking is the 5th cent started obviously April, May, and June. We're asking to receive that 5th cent amount this fiscal year to spend, but really by the time it's collected and reported, June, July, and August, we're asking to receive those dollars in next year's budget as well. We'd also like to carry over any funds we're not able to spend. We just want to make sure that we're spending those dollars the most efficient way, rather than trying to hurry up and spend dollars in the last month of the fiscal year. One thing that we'd also have requested, and we request the support of the TDC, is that, as I said, collections this year are exceeding expectations by a significant amount. We'll easily have over $3 million in TDT collections that unbudgeted for. Then we also have the holdback amount, which is close to $500,000. So there's going to be $3.5 million at the end of this fiscal year that's unbudgeted for. Possibly more than that. And our request is to use those dollars to create the emergency marketing fund that we haven't had in the past. All of our peer destinations on both sides of us have this kind of reserve that allowed them to continue to do their work without any marketing or operational setbacks, which we certainly experienced in fiscal year 20 and even this year, because this year's budget is even lower budgeted-wise than what was actually received in fiscal year 19. So we certainly think that this is an opportunity to establish that fund going forward, and so that we're in a better position to deal with the next crisis as it comes along. But we also are in support of looking at developing a couple of reserves. I know there's interest in development, capital improvement development fund, to whether it's a meeting or a sports type of facility or a combination of the both. And we do acknowledge the importance of the beach and that keeping those beaches renourished and in the best shape they can be is really important to that visitor experience and having people come back again and again. So we are, I think there's an opportunity then year after year to take a look at excess funds and a process of allocating those dollars into those reserve accounts year after year. Does anybody have any questions on that?
Well, I was going to say, I just had a comment on how you opened it up. It reminded me, I mean, again, if we want to talk about differentiating ourselves from our neighbors, saying it can't be the, let's call them the assets. Do you remember how when people were talking about when they go out to eat, A, they can find a place to eat. It's not huge wait lines like they do see to our east. But two, they felt they could actually relax and enjoy the meal, and that the staff and the restaurants were happy to have them. They weren't being rushed out, which I think is a huge, I mean, it was, they allowed them to enjoy their experience and be on vacation, and they weren't just turning over tables. I don't, so that was, again, talk about something that differentiates us, was the experience that people have when they come here. So I think that's speaks volumes of our industry locally.
And the other things we heard too was that, with a community like ours, with the history we have, we definitely have more of a soul as a destination, as a place to go because of the history of the Pensacola area and just the wealth of things to do that involve the sports and the arts and the culture of the destination. So a lot of those things did come out throughout the focus groups. I would like to then just give a brief grant update. So we are re-implementing the grant program with the fiscal year 22 budget, and we made a few changes over the last year to try to make that grant program produce the results we're looking for as far as bringing visitors to the area, creating that return on investment of those dollars. And so we did 8 different workshops to try to allow everybody an opportunity to participate both in person or through Zoom. And we had, our deadline was noon as of today, and we had 11 applications submitted. And we'll be reviewing those through the grant committee next week and then submitting for approval at our June 23rd board meeting. I will say, when we talk to our hoteliers, there's a lot to be optimistic about. We talk to our restaurants and all of our partners that the summer months look busy. The bridge is open, and soon we should have 4 lanes open. And we're excited about the growth at the Pensacola Airport. Our Spirit Airlines flights start this Thursday, and we've been working with Showcase to create a marketing initiative to support these new routes. We think it's really important that this is the time to try to get as many of those routes to become established routes that continue after the first 90-day trial period. And so we'll be sharing a little bit more of that information in the marketing update, which is actually right now. And I'll turn this over to Robert.
I've got a chair, if I may.
Robert?
So in the minutes from last meeting, we were told that we'd be getting a budget for next year. And I would ask that this board take up a special meeting either on July 6th or July 13th, which are Tuesdays, if we want to stay with our Tuesday meeting, which would be ahead of the BOCC budget workshops. But I think we need to review budgets and make a recommendation on what we expect the board to consider on the 20th. So, I mean, I think we need to see a budget and expenses and everything else. So that would be my request to this board. And then we can consider things like the Chappie James and everything else, beach renourishment. So I think this board should have some input on what goes in front of our board. Thank you.
Yeah, I agree. Do you have the dates for the county's budget workshop?
July 20 and 21.
And you're suggesting like July 7th?
July 6th and the 13th are
The
Tuesdays.
6th, I'm sorry. So,
July 6th sounds great.
so I would like to do that also. I think that's a good idea. Why don't we have Zanani and Tina send out an email to the group and see which dates work best?
Okay.
Which one of those dates? And I think we could probably keep it to about a 2-hour meeting.
Yeah, I think so. But I think if there are things that our board wants to consider in funding for next year, I think that would be the time to discuss it as an agenda item, and then we can hear from people that are interested in
Yeah, I agree.
whatever.
Okay, that sounds great. So can you ladies send out an email after the meeting to, in the next couple of days, just get everybody, figure out which calendar day works best of those two. Thank you. And I have just one other question, or just a comment. Your comment about the 3.5 million perspective, I'm knocking on wood that it goes, the projections continue in the direction they're going. But going back to the ARPA funds that County Administrator Ms. Gilly was talking about, the County Commission allocates that $3 million over the next 2 years, that we could use those funds in lieu of the normal, what we've done historically, allocated the surplus, the $3.5 million above the budgeted expenditures, to the Unified Budget Group as normal, and then put the surplus money into the reserves. And so then it gets spent, if it's allocated, the ARPA money gets spent in the next 2 years, $1.5 million each year, and then put that $3 million into $3.5 million or so, whatever it is, into reserves. Just, we can talk about, I think we ought to talk about that at the, this workshop meeting that we're going to schedule, but I think that could be a good way to fall within the guidelines of the ARPA money spending requirements and begin to build our reserves. So, any other questions before we move on to the marketing? Yep, Tish?
Darren, do you have a number or a figure in mind for the emergency fund, what Visit Pensacola would be comfortable with?
Well, that amount, this excess at the end of this year is going to be, I feel right there around 3.5. It could, if you add in the 5% holdback, it could be $4 million. So it could be all of it. If you want to put some in other funds, then, what percentage do you want to break that out? But this would be a good start to establishing that fund, because we're not really looking then, rather than creating that supplemental down the road where excesses have usually been just returned and not invested, now we'd be putting them into those reserve funds.
Okay, but for this board, I'd like to make sure if there is a fund that it's specifically for marketing of Pensacola and does not 5 years from now get funded for a bridge or, anything else.
In the conversations I've had with the county and talking about establishing reserve funds, that they would have a very specific use that would either require TDC recommendation and then, supermajority vote by the Board of County Commissioners, something like that, to make sure they're being used for the right purpose. Yeah. But that's all in the development, and maybe a recommendation from TDC in the first place that can be formulated at that July 6th, hopefully, meeting.
Great.
So, Nani, did you hear that? July 6th, preferably? That would be great. All right. Marketing update. Here we go. So all you need to do is press the down arrow to move it.
Good.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you all very much. Before, this is Brian McCall, who's our partner, and in the back is Ellis Bullock, who's a partner of Showcase. And always remind you, it's not just one person up here, it's a whole team of people from several different agencies. And we brought Brian up because he knows about the most significant thing we're doing, and so I'm going to zip through some of this. But I want to remind you of one thing. Do you know a year ago, we were coming in here and we were all talking about how are we going to be able to balance any budget, and we were laying off people and things were pretty rugged for the rest of that year. And here we're having discussions about what to do with excess funds. So a lot of positive things have happened in the last few months, and we do appreciate the county and TDC and what they've done to keep us whole and to get us to where the future looks bright. A couple of the ways we spent the money in the last few months was the Coastal Value Program, which ran from February 14th to May 25th. You can see that it generated an awful lot of room nights, flights, and website sessions. That was the beginning of when we started using the research that had been provided by Downs and St. Germain, and everything kind of started toward just the beach marketing of it. And in the next one was a very, very small campaign that we started when, as a result of people starting to get their shots. And we knew that the over 65 crowd was getting their shots first, and we did a very small campaign targeted to the over 65 travelers to be their first stop down here. And it was in the travel markets specifically. Did a pretty good job with the amount of money that we spent, 519 room nights, 125 flights, 19,000 different website sessions. We have an awful lot of great things that we're working on right now that are coming on. Obviously, it looks like it's going to be a great summer, and if you saw the numbers that Darren put up there, June and July are looking great already. And so our focus now is on the flights and on the September, October, whatever. We'll bring you those plans later on. But now I'd like to introduce Brian, who's going to tell you about the big campaign and the things we're doing to target travelers by air to the new air traffic markets.
Yes, so we spoke a lot about the uptick in air travel, and it's true. It's risen significantly. It's risen significantly faster than a lot of people in the industry thought it would. Actually, airlines are having trouble. They let a lot of their pilots take early retirement, and they're scrambling to find pilots to staff these planes. So we've been working with the airport, with the staff of the airport, and we've identified 10 markets that we want to support. 10 markets have direct flights to Pensacola, and we're going to run, we've started this month running digital campaigns in these markets that promote the idea that we're a nonstop, it's an easy flight, quick flight to get to Pensacola. The markets were identified, again, working with the airport. Some of the markets are some of our key markets that have always been good for us, but we feel that there's potential to grow. So a few of the other markets are growth markets or emerging markets that potential is there to grow, and also taking into consideration some of the relationships with the airport's trying to develop with some of the specific airlines, such as Spirit. So that's running now. It'll run through September, and so maybe we can have some at least partial results to report to you at that time. Any questions on what we're doing here? We're keeping it quick.
Any questions? No, thank you.
So it is very complex how we're targeting all these people, and since we're usually whenever they're sweeping up the room when we get up to talk, we didn't go into all the detail, but we could at some time. But we appreciate your time, and thank you for, if there are any questions, we're happy to answer them. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
And that's the end of our report.
Great. Thank you so much. Updates from Pensacola Sports, ACE, Naval Museum, and UWF Historic Trust. I do know the Naval Aviation Museum was not going to be able to make it today, and I don't know if Ray was here for the first 30 minutes. He said he was, and he was going to have to leave, so I know he's gone now. Nicole, do you want to give a quick update on Fufu Fest for ACE? Just on what's going on, just a quick overview.
Good afternoon. 2 weeks ago, Fufu Fest met with all of their grant applicants. They had a very large application number this year. They had over 30 applications submitted for the grants for During Food, which is November 4th through the 15th of this year. They were able to award 7 events, and the team is meeting next week to start discussing their internal marketing strategy, and then we'll meet in 4 weeks after that to start discussing the external marketing. So we're really looking forward to the event, and now we can cross-promote with Visit Pensacola efforts and the rest of the community efforts and make this one big collaborative ordeal. Any questions?
Any questions? No? Great, thank you.
Great, thanks.
Is anyone here from UWF? I haven't seen, Rob's not here. No. All right. Next item on the agenda is the other business, the audit and agency update. And I just wanted to update this board on where we were, the letter that we sent to the county and the Department of Revenue. The Board of County Commissioners discussed it at a meeting last month, and they approved sending the letter to the Florida Auditor General and the Joint Legislative Auditing Committee, and asking them to review our letter, but I believe also that Mrs. Childers had sent a letter to all of us that I believe we all received. And Ms. Gilly, did you send both of those letters to JLAC and to okay, so both letters went to the Auditor General and JLAC and asked them to please review them and take whatever actions that office deemed necessary. We're not looking for any action. I just wanted to give everyone an update on where this was.
So we did get a response, although the response was sent prior to our letter actually going out. Are you familiar with that?
I'm not.
All right, let me see if I can find it. Pam, do you have it by any chance, or? Zanani, do you have that by any chance real quick, or do I just need to try to look for it?
Are you talking about a response from the Auditor General? Yes. Oh, no.
I have it. So this is dated May 17th. So it was actually dated prior to the board's discussion, but was received, Pam forwarded it to me on May 24th. Dear Ms. Childers, the Auditor General is in receipt of your correspondence dated April 30th, wherein you respond to assertions made in the above reference letter regarding the use of the TDT in Escambia County. The substance of your correspondence has been transferred to our local government audit division for reference in any future audits requiring the consideration of these issues expressed therein. And then feel free to contact me if you require further assistance. So.
Okay, thank you. That letter was sent to the TDC members or just the BOCC? Because I didn't receive it. Did anyone else?
It was copied to Zanani and asked, because she is your
Right.
administrative, to send it to you.
Okay.
So she can follow up and do that.
Yes, I sent it on April 30th at 1:25 p.m. Everybody will be CC'd.
But it was dated May 17th. So it's a different letter.
Yeah, Pam sent this to you on May 24th at 10:15 a.m. And then Zanani, please distribute to TDC board was in the.
Commissioner Bender, can you forward that right now while we're sitting here?
Okay. Yep, she just forwarded it again.
Ms. Gilly, you sent it to Zanani, and then Zanani, you'll send it to us, please. Thank you. Thank you. No worries, no worries. Didn't realize it came in, so thank you. Does anybody have any other comments or questions about that process or where we are? Okay, great. The only other item that I want, before we adjourn, is to thank Zanani. She has been accepted into graduate school, correct? you're in graduate school, but you're leaving the county. You're leaving this position. She's abandoning us for better opportunity, and we are happy to welcome Tina. So Tina, I don't know if you want to introduce yourself formally to the group, but Tina will be our liaison now with the county.
Tina. I work for Ms. Sharon and Ms. Janice in county administration, and I look forward to working with all of you.
Great. Thank you so much. Any other business for the good of the group? If not, so adjourned. Thank you.